This video could save your cat's life. I know that sounds really dramatic, but there's a lot of things in your home that could be dangerous for your cat that you might not even be aware of. I have 11 things that you should do right now to make your home safer for your cat, and solutions for each of them. If you stick around until the end, I also have a really big tip that will help with all of them, and will make life better for you and your cat. A few of them are going to surprise you because they're things that you may not have thought of or may have seemed pretty harmless but can actually endanger your cat. Let's get going because there are quite a few things to go over. Number 1, block off under the bed or other places your cat could hide that you wouldn't be able to get to them in an emergency. Unfortunately, this is inspired by events from a couple of weeks ago with my cat Poutine. The building I live in does not have great management on site. It seems like there's almost constantly issues with the water, and unfortunately, twice in the last few weeks, the pipes in my building have burst because it got so cold. This led to the fire alarms going off. We had to evacuate the building really quickly. While both my cats are carrier trained, Poutine struggled with being really afraid because of the loud noises that were going on. I was in a panic, and I didn't know what to do. I just knew that I needed to get him out quickly. He managed to find a place behind my cabinets that I didn't even realize existed, that he managed to sneak his way into. I had to be basically drug out of my apartment by a neighbor because I couldn't get to him. Mercifully, there wasn't an actual fire, but if there was, Poutine would have died. It's definitely not something I like to think about, but because I wasn't aware that this place existed, it created an unknown danger. Thankfully, the second time we had to leave, I was successfully able to wrangle him. Go look around for your home and ask yourself if the places that your cat could hide or that they like to spend time, are you going to be able to grab your cats relatively quickly? In particular, one area that people often let their cats go and hang out that actually can be really dangerous is under the bed. Under the bed can be really hard to get to, and your cat may be able to hide way at the back. Don't underestimate the panic and the stress that you are experiencing, and you don't know how quickly you're going to have. You might only have a few seconds to be able to grab your cat. Other places to block off include anywhere your cat could get into in a ceiling or in part of your home, behind furniture, and under the couch. Even if you only partially block off areas like under the couch, it's still safer than letting your cat have access to the entire couch. You might need to get creative with how you block off these areas. I personally like using under the bed storage totes or storing other things under these places because it serves another function for me and I can store stuff under there, and it blocks off my cats from going into those locations. If your cat can move around the under the bed storage totes or whatever it is that you put under there, get something heavier. You might need to come up with an outside the box solution. Even if you've tried before and you haven't been successful, it's worth trying again because this is important. It could prevent tragedy in an emergency. Number 2, cords. Unfortunately, one of my friends recently had her cat end up at the emergency vet because he had some mysterious ulcerations that they eventually figured out that it seemed like he might have been mildly electrocuted. She ended up discovering that he had chewed on one of her phone chargers while she wasn't looking. Thankfully, it was a relatively low power cord, but he still got injured and required a feeding tube and a couple of nights in the hospital. He got very lucky that he didn't get more seriously injured. Even if your cat hasn't chewed on power cords before, it's worth blocking them off. Some great tools for doing this include using chew-proof cord protectors or using cord organizers that allow you to keep the majority of the cord inside of them that your cat can't access. These are better tools than using sprays that are bitter because your cat may still bite them, which could create damage and lead to a fire. Or once the spray wears off, your cat may decide, hey, you know what, I'm still gonna chew on this. It's safer to physically block your cat from being able to get to the cord. You can also try keeping the cords in places that your cat can't get to, such as behind a large heavy objects, and making sure that your cat does not have access to that space. Number 3, plants. I love growing plants. You can see I have one of my Hoyas behind me. You need to make sure that any plant that you bring into your home is safe for your cat. Some plants may cause your cat to become sick, and some of them can even be deadly, such as lily plants, where even if your cat gets a small amount of it, they could die. Plants that you bring into your home include things like cut flowers, because you might not be growing a lily plant, but if you bring in a bouquet of flowers that has lilies in it and your cat drinks some of the water, or your cat nibbles on even a small part of the leaf, bad things could happen. The ASPCA has a great searchable toxic plant list where you can see what plants are safe and not safe for your cat. Another great source is asking your veterinarian directly what plants are safe for your cat. If you do have plants that could be dangerous for your cats and you want to keep them for either sentimental reasons or because you like growing them, one of the things you can do to mitigate the risk somewhat is keeping them in a separate room that your cat completely does not have access to. Even better would be keeping them inside a greenhouse. A lot of people will take cabinets and turn them into greenhouses, so you can DIY it, or you can buy some pre-made greenhouses. You can also take plants and hang them from the ceiling. Making plant hangers out of macrame is not that challenging, or you can buy them pre-made. Either way, adding that second layer of physically not allowing your cat to get to the plants is going to be safer than relying on deterrents or trying to keep your cat away from the plants when they are in a room that your cat has access to. And if your cat does sneak by you, because, cats do have a reputation for doing that, it buys you more time. It allows you to scoop up your cat and get them out of the room. Number 4, speaking of furniture and cabinets, keeping your furniture secure is an important part of cat-proofing your home. If your cat climbs on a cabinet, a bookshelf, or some other piece of furniture and then jumps off, they could knock it over. Your cat could get crushed if a heavy piece of furniture falls on them, but the danger doesn't end there. It could fall on someone in your home and injure them, or something could fall off the shelves and create a dangerous situation. Your cat could accidentally start a fire. That's dangerous to you and to them. Thankfully, the solution to this isn't that hard, and you may have the tools already to fix it. A lot of pieces of furniture come with wall mounting kits that allow you to brace the furniture to the wall. This makes it less likely that it's going to fall over. If you don't have one or you threw it away, because I used to not actually use them myself, I have to admit that, you can always order them online. As someone who isn't necessarily the handiest person, I was able to install them quickly. I think it took me less than 10 minutes for most of my bookshelves. They're not a huge time commitment, and they are worth it. Number 5, screens. Having open windows and getting fresh air when the weather's not freezing cold can be delightful. It's a great way to allow your cat to sniff all the scents and get a little bit of enrichment from the air, and also keep an eye on the shady neighborhood birds. If your cat decides that now is the time that they're going to go after the birds, your cat may try jumping on the screen. If the screen isn't secure, that could create an unsafe situation. Your cat might climb up the screen and create a hole using their claws. They may also try jumping at the screen. This could lead to not only your cat escaping, but they may get injured. Also check for holes. There should not be any holes that your cat could fit through. Cats can fit into really small spaces. If you're not sure, it's better to replace the screen, or if you have the option of just keeping that particular window closed and only opening other ones, that's a safer choice. Number 6, strings. Cats have a reputation for liking to play with strings and dangly things. That includes things like toys, but they may also try playing with things like the cords on your sweatshirt or yarn, which, as a grandmother who knits, that is a big problem for me. Toys that are string-based should always be supervised. If your cat ingests a string, it could become very dangerous really quickly. It could strangulate part of their intestines or lead to choking. It may require emergency veterinary intervention. Make sure that all strings are out of reach of your cat if you're not actively using them. Even a small piece of string could become dangerous. If you're doing something with a string or a rope of some kind, make sure that it gets put away when it's not in use and that your cat can't accidentally get into it. This includes preventing your cat from getting to things like dental floss. People sometimes forget how dangerous floss can be. Even if you put your floss in the trash can, if your cat gets into the trash can because they're curious or they're looking for a snack, your cat could ingest the dental floss and that may create a medical emergency. There's another danger with trash cans that we'll get to in a later item, but the solution to the dental floss problem is securing your trash can or taking the dental floss and throwing it away in a trash can that's outside. If you can't do that, using an alternative form of dental floss, such as one of those little picks that has a very small amount of string on it, might be safer. Number 7, we're over halfway through our list, and this next one is a big one. Stoves and sources of heat. Your cat could get burned if they put their cute little paw on a hot stove, or if you're using a space heater, because they may end up getting curious about it and not realizing that, hey, this is dangerous. Your cat could accidentally turn on a knob on a stove. That could lead to a gas leak if you have a gas stove, or it could start a fire. At a minimum, it might injure them because if they turn it on to a high degree and they touch it, they're going to get hurt. Thankfully, there are easy solutions to this. You can get knob covers for your stove that will prevent your cat from being able to turn the knobs. Oftentimes these are sold as baby-proofing items, but they work just as well for cats because in some ways cats are kind of like toddlers. If your cat seems to mostly be interested in going on your stove when you're cooking or just after, keep them in a separate room while you're cooking. You can distract them with something like a food puzzle or something fun to do in that room that will make it so they're less upset to be in there. After you're done eating and the stove has cooled down, you can let them back out again. You should also make sure that there's no scraps of food either on the stove or your counters or in the sink. Those can be tempting to cats. Additionally, if this is a really big problem, you should check with your veterinarian to make sure that your cat is getting the appropriate amount of food. You can also try changing how you feed your cat. Cats prefer eating multiple small meals throughout the day, rather than eating 2 larger meals in the morning and the evening. Doing that will make your cat get hungry, and they may be more likely to seek out food or go on your counters. Number 8. Household chemicals. Our day-to-day lives and many of our hobbies require us to use a lot of different chemicals. These chemicals can be safe when used appropriately, but that doesn't mean they're safe to ingest or that they're safe for cats. Things like soaps or cleaners are kind of obvious things that a lot of people think of. Other things that are technically chemicals that can be dangerous for your cat include alcoholic beverages, some craft supplies like paints, or medications. Keep these chemicals secured when you're not actively using them, and make sure that the cat can't get into where you're storing them. For example, if they're stored in a cabinet under a sink, make sure that that cabinet securely closes, and use baby-proofing supplies or a latch if needed. For places that tend to accumulate a lot of these chemicals, such as a certain room in your basement or your garage or the laundry room, you may want to keep your cat out of that room entirely. A quick tip for that one, because cats sometimes don't like having doors closed. If you start out not allowing your cat in that area, they're going to be less distressed than if later on you try and remove access to that space. If you move somewhere new, don't allow your cat into the laundry room to begin with. That will make it less distressing for them. Speaking of the laundry room, Number 9. Washers and dryers. I mentioned this earlier, but cats are notorious for sneaking past us quickly, and if you're distracted by carrying laundry as an example, you may not notice a cat quickly get past you. Cats may also blend in with things depending on the lighting, and you may not see them hiding somewhere. Cats will instinctually hide in places that they feel safe, and where predators will not be able to easily get to them. Places like washers and dryers can meet some of these criteria, especially if the dryer is warm because you just ran it on a high heat setting. Your cat may go and cozy up in there. Well, that by itself isn't inherently dangerous. If you don't notice that your cat is in the washer or dryer and you close the door, that's going to be dangerous because they may be trapped in there. It's especially bad if you run the washer or dryer while your cat is in there. The best way to mitigate this risk is to not let your cat into the laundry room at all. If for some reason you have to let them into the laundry room, or the layout of your home makes it impossible to prevent them from getting in there, when you aren't actively loading things in or taking them out, make sure that the lids are closed. Even if you turn away for a second, it can still be dangerous. We still have this one plus one more tip and the final big, huge tip that's going to help with all of these. Let's get to number 10 because it's important. Hair ties and rubber bands. I know a lot of people let their cats play with hair ties. However, they can be really dangerous because your cat may ingest them, and if they do, they can twist and turn, or they could cause your cat to choke. This can lead to a medical emergency or an obstruction in their intestines. Rubber bands are similar, except for their danger comes more from twisting around the insides of your cat. Even if your cat enjoys playing with hair ties, don't let them use them as a toy. It's really dangerous, and it only takes one incident to end your cat's life. If they seem like they are the only toy that your cat seems to enjoy playing with, you may need to try different styles of toys or change up how you play with your cat. A great way to learn how to play with your cat differently, because the problem might be how you're playing with the cat or the toy that you're using, is to read up on what cats like to do to play. I strongly recommend the book Play with Your Cat by Michael Delgado. It's a great, accessible, and easy read that is filled with information. She is a wonderful source of knowledge about cats and cat behavior, and you will enjoy the read. Your cat will also thank you for all the fun new things that you learn to do with them. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in learning more about it or ordering a copy. Well, not totally safe. If you are going to play with your cat using hair ties, you could try taking a very secure string and tying it to the hair tie. Only play with your cat while you are actively playing with them and you can monitor them, because as we covered earlier, the strings are also dangerous. This isn't completely safe because your cat could still tear off the hair tie, or the string could come undone, or it might break. It's going to be safer than just letting your cat play with it. The safest choice, though, would be finding a different toy that your cat likes. Always make sure before you start playing that the string is securely attached to the hair tie, and keep the play sessions very, very short. Time for my last suggestion before we get to the big tip. Number 11 is bags and containers for food. I'm not just talking about plastic shopping bags or bags that zip close. Think of bags like chip bags or bags for snacks. These are going to be really tempting for your cat, and they may be like, I smell something tasty, and stick their cute little face in there. As unpleasant as this is to think about, if your cat sticks their head in the bag, when they start breathing, it will cause the bag to close around their head. Your cat is then going to become panicked because they can't breathe. This is a reflexive response for cats and can quickly lead to death because the bag will close around them and they won't be able to get it off. This is what I was alluding to in number 6 when I was talking about the other problem with trash bags. Your cat could get into your trash and suffocate on a trash bag. Trash bags should be secured to the garbage can, and every other type of bag should be put away completely where your cat can't get to them. Don't rely on your cat just ignoring bags, because you never know. They may get curious one day, or something may fall off a counter. Even if you just leave them alone for a few minutes, that could be enough time for tragedy to strike. If you are not actively there, you need to make sure that there are no bags that your cat could get into. This also applies to other objects, such as jars or other things your cat could get their head stuck in. If your cat can fit their head in it, and especially if there's something tempting in there like food or treats, be careful with it. It's safer to make sure that it's completely closed or in a place that your cat has no way of getting to. I recognize that all of this may seem very overwhelming, and it's a lot of doom and gloom, let's be honest. However, it's really important because it will help keep your cat safe. Start with little changes. You don't have to do everything all at once. Pick out the things that are easy for you to do and the things that are going to be the most dangerous, and start there. Any change you make is going to make your home safer for your cat. As promised, I have one final tip that is a big one that is going to apply to all of the earlier suggestions I had. This is also going to help keep your cat from doing a lot of unwanted behaviors and build your bond with your cat. Plus, it's kind of fun. Keep your cat from being bored. Well, not the only reason that cats do a lot of destructive behaviors or can be kind of naughty at times or can get into trouble. Boredom is a big cause of a lot of problems. If your cat doesn't have something to do, they're going to find something to do to occupy their time. It's not because they're being mean or spiteful, it's because they're bored and they need more stimulation. Providing your cat with an enriching environment with plenty of places to climb and scratch and things to do, actively playing with your cat every single day, and making sure that they're getting plenty of attention will help reduce boredom. You can use things like food puzzle to supplement the play that you're doing with your cats. It doesn't mean you actively have to be involved with your cat, but you do need to do things with your cats. Contrary to the myth that cats are easy pets, a better way of thinking of cats is that they have different needs than other species. Oftentimes, cats will get compared to dogs as being an easier alternative, and that's not exactly accurate. Cats have a lot more mental and social needs than we've given them credit for in the past. There's a great article that was written a few years back by Zazie Todd that I send to my clients all the time that I will put a link in the description. It goes over some of the ways that we haven't necessarily succeeded at meeting the needs of cats in the past. It's a great read and something to think about. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person if you haven't fully met the needs of your cat in the past, but it hopefully will inspire you to make some changes and make sure that your cat is leading an enriched, fulfilling life. Ultimately, keeping your cat from being bored means that they'll be less likely to annoy you or get into dangerous situations. You'll get more time with them, and you will have a stronger bond with them. It benefits everyone.